the command phase is basically where you are giving your army divisions orders. The orders come from the commander of that particular division, and he's going to give units their instructions on what they're going to do. This is where you make your movements, your charges, and change formations. This is the funnest part of the game. Because this is where you start to set up, in my opinion it's the funnest part of the game, but this is where we start to set up what happens and how the troops move and how they work. I think these are kind of my own set rules, but there's two ways to give orders in this game, and I'll give you both exact examples. Say it's my turn and I'm playing. Okay, so it's my turn and I am going to have my commander order these guys to move behind the rocks. I roll dice, succeeds, see if they get their order done. Okay, that's pretty standard. Most people will word it like that or something similar. They'll give an order and they'll just state, I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. Or you can be really creative and pretend you're the commander himself. You can be like, okay, you lads, I want you to take cover behind those rocks, go! That's the fun part of this game. You can roleplay the general. You skirmishers are being useless there. Run to the trees over there and hide behind them. That's their order. Go! And in this case, they roll a blunder, and I'll talk about blunders later. But say they pass, it's like, oh, okay. So you can have fun in this phase. You can like just tell your opponent what you're commanding and roll for it. That's all fine. But if you have some eccentric and very enthusiastic players, you can get right into it. You can be like, alright men, those Numidians over there, they took your farms, they burned down your trees, run in there and kill everything, kill the first thing you charge, okay? And you're just saying something like, you know, you might get lost in translation if you're too crazy like that. But if you're like, charge forth and kill the first thing you come in contact with. You know, you're actually giving a command, and then in that case it's a 6. Okay, well he said charge forth. I guess if his leadership is 8, he's going up 12 inches. And you move them following dice. We'll get into the dice results after. But yeah, the way you frame the order, it should be straightforward. It should be simple to understand. But you don't need to be like, oh, my commander will order them to do that. I mean, you can. Most people do. But you can also like just start yelling in the game and be like, kill everything behind that hill, and you know, or better yet, charge the first thing you see behind that hill. You can put your energy into it if you want. That's why I like Hail Caesar. You can be a nutball and yell out all the orders you want. It's really fun. Okay, we're playing a game, let's say, and in my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to order these guys to move behind these rocks. And I just suddenly roll some dice. Oh, I get it. I move. You must state your order out loud for all players to hear it. If you roll for success and start moving, someone on the other side will say, you didn't say what the order is. Your unit will get a blunder, and we'll talk about blunders soon. They're also fun parts of the command phase. But you should, before you roll to test success, state the intention of the unit. Tell the opponent, say out loud what they're going to do. Failure to do this, well, if your opponent is mean, and they should be mean, they want to win, they will tell you that you didn't say what you're doing, you get a blunder, and then bad things could happen. Secondly, it should be said that if you are giving an order, units are always going to take the most straightforward and direct method of getting the order done. Okay? So if I have, let's say, these rocks at an angle here, and I tell this unit here, I want you guys to get in front of the rocks out here, okay? However you command it. Your unit is going to, after you succeed, it's going to take the most direct and straightforward route and may end up something like here, which would basically be straight and maybe a turn. It's not going to be like, okay boss, it's not going to take the longer way around. Commands are always executed in the most straightforward and direct fashion. You need to remember that, because you can't, you know, it makes more sense. You gave him an order to go in front of these rocks. It's going to be quicker going around this way, where if he has to go around this way, it takes a whole extra turn, a whole extra movement. So orders are always accomplished and carried out in the most direct and straightforward fashion possible. Also, and we'll get to it soon, let's say these rocks are a little farther. and I order my unit, okay, I want you guys to get behind this rock formation here, and I test for success. Whatever I roll, I get a roll and I only have enough for one movement. Okay, oh, he didn't reach the edge of the rocks. He didn't get right behind the edge of the rocks. They followed the order as far as their dice roll allowed, and we'll get into that soon. So sometimes you will frame out an order, but because of the dice rolls, they're not able to execute that command fully. I might tell a unit, run as far as you can towards the enemy over there. And if I don't roll high on the dice, I only roll a bit, they may only move this far. But another unit over here, who maybe has the same order, might have a better result on the test roll. They might end up farther. So commands and testing for commands are all based on the straightforwardness of your command, but also how well you've rolled on the dice. And we'll discuss that shortly here. So, getting right into that now, commanders and generals all have a leadership value. Leadership values in most games tend to be 8 or 9 from what I've played, but they can be anywhere from a lowly 2 up to an impossible 11. So basically you'll see 8 to 9, as I said. You could have like maybe Alexander on the field and you want to give him a higher leadership, or maybe you've got like Leonidas or something from the Spartans and you think, oh, he should have an 11. He protected all of Greece for a while there. He's a good commander. Whatever the leadership value is, you should remember it for each commander, have it written down somewhere. You have to test the success of an order. And I think the best way to explain and show how this works is just through demonstration. Let's move these guys back. So this commander wants to give an order, and he's ordered the guys, again, go up to those rocks over there. Okay, we're going to do that. So he orders them to go to those rocks. Now, we're not into the movement yet, but these guys have a movement of 6 inches. So when you do have a successful order go out, the unit that receives the order gets to make a certain amount of moves, up to 3, to try and get that order done. So in the case of infantry here, and we'll talk about this later, infantry have a movement of 6. So every time they get an order, they can move up to 6 inches in any direction, forward, sideways, backwards. So if this guy orders them to move behind these rocks here, he has to roll equal or less his leadership value to get an order in. If he rolls, we said, okay, let's say he has leadership 8. If he rolls an 8 when he's giving an order, that means they can move once to try and get to behind those rocks there. So since his leadership is 8, if he rolls a 7, that's 1 less than his leadership, he's still able to move these guys once. If he rolls a 6, which is 2 less than his leadership of 8, they can make 2 moves to get behind the rocks to try and fulfill the order. And if he rolls 3 less than that, like if he gets 5 or less, he can do a whole 3 moves. 3 is the maximum amount you're able to do. So for these infantry, they'd be able to use up to 18 inches, right? 6 times 3, 18, to fulfill that order. I want to stress though, you have to make sure your orders are clear. If I ordered these guys up to these rocks, and say that rock is 10 inches away, I only need 2 moves to reach there. If I have 3 moves rolled from these dice, from this dice result, that last move is wasted because my order was only get behind the rocks. So how you order your units and how you format the way you say the order, it's really important. Because oftentimes I've found in my games, I've said, okay, move, I say move in front of the skirmishers. If I roll like less than the 3 of his leadership, maybe that's only 1 move. I've lost all those extra moves because my order was only go here, right? So you have to be careful and wary on how you state your orders, because any extra movement that you've rolled with the commander is lost once they've reached the objective of their order. And of course, if this if this commander's leadership is 8 and I roll a 9, no order is given. Okay, if you roll greater than the leadership amount of a commander, the order fails. You don't want things to fail, because once you fail one order, that means your whole division no longer gets any orders. We'll get to ordering units in that manner soon. So, just to tell you, these are the first guys I'm giving an order to. If he fails the order right off the bat, in this case he's leadership 8, if I get a 9, 10, 11, or the dreaded 12 for the blunder, I get any of those, they don't get the order because it's greater than his leadership value, but also he loses the rest of his command phase. So it's good to have high leadership generals because they're less likely to fail orders. And there are some methods in game that we'll talk about soon to lower the chance of losing a whole division getting orders. But we'll go through some examples and take a look at that. So let's give you a basic example of how this might work. It's my turn, it's the Romans' turn, and the Numidians being over there, I'm going first, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to order my units to go forth. This unit here, I want you guys to march as far as you can towards the enemy line. Okay, it's not so bad for an order, so we roll the dice. Oh, look at that, I rolled a 10. You know what a 10 means? It means that the turn is done. It's over his leadership of 8. These guys do not complete the order, and his whole division here fails that order. His division's command phase is now done. There's nothing else he can do. There are some rules that might allow this unit to move, like drilled, but we'll discuss that later. But on a normal basis, his command phase would be done. Let's redo that, and hopefully we roll lower here. Let's say the same order. He orders his unit towards the enemy line. Just march as far as you can towards the enemy line. Okay. In this case, I rolled a 3. 3 is good. So since this is 3 or higher than his command is 8. So that's lower by 5, right? He can take 3 moves to complete his order. Infantry move 6 inches. So that would be in a whole 18 inches. That's pretty far. He's booked his way right ahead of the army there. So a good roll like that will get your units up quick. Okay, now these guys need an order here. Let's do the same order. This time, let's say, I want you guys to try and, let's use the same order for simplicity. March as far as you can towards the enemy's battle line. Okay. I rolled a 6. Now 6 is only 2 less than 8. So that means I'm only going to be moving 12 inches total. Right? So they had the same order, but because he got a lower, or he rolled higher there, closer to his leadership, these guys didn't get the order as well. They didn't receive as much information, I get, or maybe they stumbled along the way, something like that. But they had the same order to go towards the enemy battle line, but because they had a higher roll closer to his leadership there, they aren't able to make it as far. And we might as well use the skirmishers here as well. The skirmishers, let's roll for them. Same order, march towards the enemy line. They roll an 8. 8 is just an equal. So these skirmishers, following orders, only move 6. That's it. You see it? It's quite simple. But the lower you roll in the command phase, the more movement these units will get to move forward. Now you can see there's kind of a problem here. You have to be careful. These guys are way out in the front. They might get in contact first if they keep doing so well. And that's basically, though that was actually really lucky on the rolls I got to demonstrate the different values and how far they move. So basically the thing to remember is, remember what your leadership is, 8. If you're equal or minus 1 to the leadership value on 2 dice, you're only going to move once. If you roll less than 2 of your leadership value on the dice, in this case it would be a 6 since he's 8, he's going to move 2 movements. And then these salty fellows rolled like 5 less, but the max you can ever roll is 3 less or lower. So these guys moved the whole 3 movements. And like the first example there, we failed and lost our whole command phase for this division. So we'll move all these guys back to where they started. It's important to remember what division a commander is part of. A commander can only give orders in this way to units in his division. So in this case, only these 3 units can ever get orders from this commander. If I had another division somewhere, they'd have their own commander. A division can units in a division can only take orders from that division's commander. Also, a unit can only have 1 order per turn. You cannot give a unit 2 orders. It's either going to be an initiative order, which we'll talk about soon, or it's going to be an order directly from the commander. So you can only take 1 order per turn. And as I said, if he fails the very first order, your whole division's turn. He cannot give any orders to his division that turn. It's done. However, if he was the first commander giving the first batch of orders in your game, his division's done, but your other division's commander hasn't gone yet. That division can still give orders in the same way I just demonstrated. So if you have 2 or more divisions and the first division fails the first order and that whole division cannot move or make any orders complete, do not fret. Chances are you have a second or a third division that you can use to give orders to. So you're gonna get some movement in each round from at least 1 division, unless you're really unlucky. And it has happened. I have had games where my whole battle line sits there picking their noses because they all failed the first order. So you'll see that a lot in the games. And you might feel frustrated on it, but it is just part of the game. If I start, say I have 2 divisions and I start with this commander, you have to finish your whole division's orders first before you go to another commander. So the ordering actually is more like this. In the command phase, initiative goes first. We'll skip that for now. And then whatever division you pick first, that whole division needs orders from its commander first before you go to another second division and give them all their orders. Then you can go to the third. The order that you choose the divisions to give commands doesn't matter, but that division and its commander has to complete its entire command phase first before you go to another commander and its division. Finally, if you're playing like a 2 versus 2 game, and let's say I'm Dustin here, which I am, and I've got control of this guy. Say over on the right here off screen, say my buddy Bob has another division. If it's our turn and we have 2 players controlling a division each in our army, it makes sense to go at the same time. So to save time in bigger games where it's like 2 versus 2 or even 2 versus 1 or more, if everyone can do their orders at the same time, it's fine. But on a 1 versus 1 battle, you should do 1 division first before you get to the next one. Okay, let's go on to charge orders. Let's pretend we've been playing a little bit and our forces are getting closer. We got an elephant coming up, some small unit of Numidian warriors, and some other guys lagging behind there. Maybe they sucked at their orders for whatever reason. But this is how the battles progressed, we'll say. In order for your units to get into combat, you must make a charge order. The only way to get them into combat, in hand-to-hand combat, is by giving them a charge order. There is no order for shooting. There is no order for the actual hand-to-hand combat. That stuff is automatic. So, to actually get the unit moving and charge it into a foe, you have to give a charge order. So, the charge order can be framed in various ways, okay? If I'm playing here and I got the elephant there, one of the most obvious things I could do, I could choose this unit, it's my command phase, let's say, and I say charge the elephant. Okay, pretty straightforward. Roll your dice and see if you can make it towards that elephant. In this case, I don't know if you saw that on the camera there, I rolled an 8, and these guys can only move 6. So, charge the elephant would take me on the most direct, straight route. Remember, when you're doing orders and moving units, you always use the most direct and straightforward route. They would just move 6 inches up. I told them to charge the elephant, but they did not get enough on the dice to do 3 or 2 movements. And so they tried to charge, but were not able to successfully get to the elephant. All right, that's good. Let's go to the second example here. That first test was good, so he can continue giving orders to his units. He's going to give these guys the order now. He's going to say, instead of charge the elephant, he's going to give an ambiguous order. He's going to say, charge the enemy. Okay, charge the enemy means what? Well, if you're doing the most straightforward and direct following of an order, that means that the obvious choice would be only this. He did not say charge the elephant or anything. He did not say charge the guys back there. He just said charge the enemy. So the most direct route is the guys directly in front of them. So we'll roll. I got a 7, which means that's only -1 than his leadership of 8. And he would just move up his 6, taking the most direct and straightforward method of completing the order. So you can see in that example on the left, I specifically told this unit to charge the elephant. And that's what they went for. They went for the elephant. If I had said charge the warriors next to the elephant, then they would try and move in a way towards them, because that's the order. In the case of these guys, all I said was charge the enemy. Pretty basic order. So what do? They're going to charge the closest enemy, because that's the most direct and straightforward method of getting the order complete. So we're going to get into moving and charging later on when it gets a little more complicated. One other thing that we'll say right now is that you do not necessarily need to have line of sight to charge the enemy, as long as it's the last movement into combat. Remember, you could possibly have up to 3 moves based on your orders. In this case, these guys only got 1, but they could have made it into the elephant if their dice roll on the leadership check there was higher. But let's give you another scenario. Let's say I have, let's say something like this. Say the elephant's here, and the elephant here is hiding behind some rocks. And technically, you know what, we'll do that. These guys would not be able to charge directly through here if this is impassable terrain. So I might want to frame my orders in a different way. I might want to say like, round those rocks and charge the elephant, or turn around those rocks and charge the first enemy you see. Okay, so we'll test for success. I rolled a 7. That means they're only going to go, there's the 7 I rolled. They're only going to go 1 move. So what's the most direct way? Well, I did say I want to round these rocks and charge them, right? So I guess the best thing to do would move the 6, but I cannot do anything else. I only have 1 movement. To turn this game counts as a move. So they tried to fulfill the order, but I needed to get at least, I would argue, 3, less than 3 of his leadership to get into that elephant. So they didn't have to be in direct visibility. They didn't have to be directly in front. Now here's another situation. There is an elephant behind this forest here. These guys cannot see it, but I can order them to charge that elephant. I could say, charge whatever enemy you see behind that forest. Okay, they're going to roll some dice. In this case, it's a 7. They're going to take the most direct route. Now, I would probably, because they're going to enter, well, they could probably enter the forest here because there's no trees on the sides. Depends how picky you are with your terrain. But they tried to complete the order in the most straightforward fashion they could with the amount they rolled on the leadership dice. So you don't need to be seeing an enemy to give a charge order. He could be behind a hill or around the corner of something. If you know where he is, you can order him to go in and charge. There are some restrictions and further rules, but we'll get more into that later on in another part of this series. In our next segment here, we're going to be looking at division orders. So we already covered that you can give orders to individual units. I could give an order to them, and then to them, and then to them. But sometimes I want a whole division, or even just a part of a division, to do the same thing. Okay, I'm actually going to move these guys back here. So another way to frame orders is give a divisional order. And what a divisional order is giving is that it is giving the same order to multiple units. In this way, you only have to roll for success once. This just speeds up the game and makes sense to me. But instead of doing, I ordered these guys and roll to see if they move forward, and I order these guys to roll and see and move forward, I could say something like, all right, I want you 2 units to move towards the enemy. Okay, so you only need to test once here. I rolled a 6, that's 2 lower than my 8. So both of these units got the same order in the divisional order. They will follow it. They both follow on 1 success. And they both move. They both use 1 roll. That's a divisional order. Divisional orders have a few rules. Now, divisional orders have to be, the units have to be within 6 inches of each other. If they're over 6 inches, they cannot be part of a divisional order. A divisional order doesn't have to be the entire division. You could do half the division and give, say, 3 units the same order, and then if you had another 3 units in the same division, you could give them an order that's separate. The order has to be the same thing. It has to be issued in the same way. Now, I could do the same thing here if I wanted to give my whole division. It's like, okay, everyone move forward. Again, that's kind of the same as before, but this time I want the whole division. You measure the order from the leader again, and it would be the closest unit in the division order. So from his head to there, I'd measure and see if he's in range. We'll talk about ranges soon. But you measure from the closest base to the commander's head, and then all those guys in that division order would get it. So if I say move towards the enemy, and that's a division order, that's a 10, that's a fail. Let's pretend he's a general. Generals can do re-rolls. He got a 6 there. So he can move 2 with the leadership of 8. This whole division can move with 1 command, and that is a divisional order. You can do as many or as few divisional orders as you want. You could do 2 units with a divisional order, another 2 units with a divisional order, as long as you complete that whole division's order before going to another division. Then it's all well. You might have an order where you want to rearrange things. Like if I gave these guys an order here in the division, the whole division, I say, okay, I want you guys to all move forward with the Hastati on the left, but I also want the skirmishers to go on the far left as well. They're all moving forward, but in this case, these guys, if they get enough movements, will be able to try and directly get to that position. It gets a little different too if you have faster moving units. If I have cavalry here, cavalry get more than 6 inches when they're moving. If I give a divisional order to an infantry unit and a cavalry unit, the cavalry can only move as fast as the infantry. So that's one thing to remember. If you are giving a divisional order to whatever unit, it's the unit's movement that's going to be the slowest that ultimately determines how far they go. If you gave a divisional order to all cavalry, let's say light cavalry in open order, all of them could go 12 inches forth in one move. But if that cavalry is part of a division order with these infantry, they're only going to go 6. They have to follow the same pace and follow the same position as the other units that are part of the divisional order. So it's something to keep in mind when you're playing. Let's talk about measuring from a commander to the unit when it comes to giving orders. Now, normally, if you're giving an order to one unit, you're going to measure from the head of a commander to the closest edge or point of a unit. So if he gives an order to this unit here, you're going to measure from his head. It's 3 inches. It's fine to give an order without penalty. Every 12 inches that the commander's head is away from a unit, you get -1 to your test roll. So, let's push these guys up to 12. These guys are now 12 inches away from their commander. So that means I have to subtract 1 from his leadership value when I roll. So in this case, I rolled a 9. Not that it matter, his leadership was 8, but I wouldn't be testing on an 8 anymore. I would have been testing on a 7 for success on that roll. So the farther away a unit is, the more difficult it is to get an order out of a commander. So it's important to keep commanders close to formed units. Units like skirmishers or horse archers don't have a distance penalty. So I really like skirmishers and horse archers and light cavalry in open order, because even if they're way over there, they have no measurement penalty. They just get orders without any penalty. So it's important to, I think, have some skirmishers and these more versatile open order units in an army, because you can, get around the lines and do some fancy things. And I'll have to correct myself here. I said that you measure a division order from the commander's head to the closest unit. That is not true. It is actually you measured from the commander's head to the farthest unit away with giving a divisional order. So if I have my commander over here and I want to give a divisional order to all 3 of these units to go forth, I actually have to measure from the farthest unit away. In this case, I'm within 12, so there'd be no penalty. And if I rolled, I'd get a 6, and they'd all move 2. So when you're giving a divisional order and you're measuring, you want to start from the commander's head and pick the unit farthest away from the commander. I guess that makes sense, because they're farthest away. We're going to see, can they hear what the commander has ordered? Maybe, telephone, that game Telephone, maybe they screw it up. Maybe everyone said they're moving forth, but then these guys mess up the message and say, oh, we're moving back, okay, let's mess up the line. Something like that. So in a divisional order, always measure from the head to the farthest unit that's part of the divisional order. Otherwise, it's just going to be from the unit receiving an order in a normal circumstance from the head of the commander. It should also be said that you can never have modifiers that take you below 5. So if you're measuring something crazy like 60 inches away, you will never have lower than 6 to the value. Your 5 is the lowest a modifier will take you. 10 is the highest your leadership could go on a general, maybe Alexander, like we said before, whereas 5 is the lowest you will ever have. So if you have a leadership of 8, but you find the unit is so far away, it will never be modified lower than a 5. So what happens then if I have a divisional order and I want to have an open order unit who has no penalties be part of the divisional order? Well, let's say in this case here that the farthest unit away, so I got my general way back there, my commander, the farthest unit here, I guess, would be him. He's going to measure from his head to that. Because all these guys are part of the divisional order, if they're part of the divisional order, these skirmishers still have to adhere to whatever the role is here. So just because these guys normally on a separate command wouldn't have any modifiers for being skirmishers in open order, they still have to, in the case of a divisional order, adhere to what the other parts of the divisional order, the other form units, are doing. So that's just something to keep in mind. We're going to talk about blunders next. Blunders are bad things or good things that happen when you roll these double 6. If you're giving an order, no matter under what modification or what circumstance, if you roll a double 6 and you're giving an order to a single unit or a division, you're going to blunder. A blunder is basically a screwed up order and random things will happen to you. There is a chart in the rule book with 6 things that happen. What happens when you roll this 6 is that you disregard the order that you were given. So if I said, charge the enemy to your front, and I rolled the 2 6s, charge the enemy to the front is no longer a thing. I follow the blunder table. So let's say they rolled that double 6 there, and I want to check out what blunder comes up. I roll a single d6. There are 6 things that could happen. They could have number 1, which says an uncontrolled flight. So what happens is they turn around to face the rear and make 2 moves back this way. So rolling a 1 is bad, they turn around and go the opposite direction. They basically use 3 moves and go the other way. Number 2 is back, and they would just move 1 move backwards. And if it's a divisional order, the whole division would move 1 move backwards. Number 3 is drift left, which means they'd make a move to the left in the same manner. Number 4 is drift right, so they'd all move right, or the individual movement go right. The unit would go right. Forward is making number 5. It says forward, they're going to move to its front with 1 movement. So if you roll a 5, they only get to move once. If they come in contact with an enemy, they do count as charging, unless they're skirmishers. If skirmishers hit other skirmishers, it's fine, but remember that open order and skirmish formations cannot hit formed infantry or anything like that. And number 6 is the best. It's an uncontrolled advance, because you make 3 direct moves to its front, and whatever's in front of you, you will just charge. So if you roll a 6, blunder 6, and your intention was to charge, you better hope you roll another 6 on a single die, because that will get you right in most of the time. Otherwise, it's pretty random. So blunders happen 2 ways, like I said. You're either going to roll 2 6s and get a blunder when giving a command, or, like I said earlier, you roll a dice without stating your command, and then your opponent says, oh, you didn't say what you're testing for. Take a blunder test. Those are the 2 situations that you will have a blunder occur. And something else I should point out here, since we're in the command phase. When we say movement, and we're talking about moving this way or this way, it doesn't matter which way they go. It's all going to be based on the unit's speed value or their movement value. In infantry, it's 6. I should just say this before I continue on. When you are doing movements in the command phase, I'll give you a chart later on in the future on how far movements or units can go. In the case of any unit moving backwards, left or right or forward, it's all going to be the same value. So it's very simple. Skirmishers and infantry like this will just be going 6 forward, 6 left, 6 right, or 6 back. That's no problem there. If you turn, it counts as a single movement. So if I want to turn and move, that's 2 successes. I'd have to roll. If he's leadership 8, I'd have to get a 6 to turn. That's 1 movement, and then move forward as the second. Changing formations in the command phase can also happen. That will cost 1 movement. These guys here, if I say form a square, they will use 1 movement to form a square. So I'd have to be successful. I'd have to have an 8 or 7 at least to do it. Or if I tell them to form back up, I also need an order to form back up. Light cavalry and light chariots, and light infantry, as I think I mentioned this before, they can move forward and change formation in 1 movement value. So light cavalry are nice. If you start with a formed unit and you tell them to go forth and enter open order, they can move and enter open order in the same movement result. So that's something that you should remember, and I did not mention earlier in this recording. So I'm going to stop here for today. Next we're going to go into initiative and proximity and the rest of the command phase. This has taken a lot longer than I thought it would through the demos and talking through the very simple part. But I hope you guys get at least the very basics of single unit orders, divisional orders, as well as the sequence of play as I discussed earlier. I will continue filming this series, but it's going to be a little longer and a little slower going than I had first anticipated. I will continue this next time. This wasn't the easiest topic to cover, even though I read through the rules and dragged things from memory. I always felt like I forgot something or there's something else I should add. So if anything is unclear, please just leave a message, ask me. We'll try and clear it up for you. But I hope you guys at least have a better idea of how the first half of this part and the command phase works, as well as the sequence of play. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.